Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. I'm your host, Adam Emmert. This is Behind Enemy Lines edition, and I'm joined by my good buddy, Clinton Bonner. Clinton, you have a fantastic guest lined up for us today that's going to talk a little Pittsburgh Steelers with us. Who we got?
Yeah, and who we got? We know we got the Steelers. We know we're going cross country to go to Heinz Field, a place that has not been too friendly to our Seahawks. And with that, though, we have a guest who's been super friendly to our podcast. It's Really Flawed from Really Flawed Football. You got to check her out. You're going to get to know her in just a second. We're going to hop right into it. And Behind Enemy Lines is all about getting their perspective on the team. Gives us a chance to branch out, meet some new people, or bring back some old favorites. So I was on Really Flawed shows earlier this year to represent the Seahawks. She invited us so graciously. We are returning the favor. But we're not just doing it because it's a favor. We're doing it because she knows ball and she knows what's going on. So let's bring her out right now. So Really Flawed, how are you, girl? What's going on with you?
I am so well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this, actually. This is my first time going somewhere to talk about my team the week before. So
Wow.
I'm super excited. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm super excited about this. So thanks for offering, and I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. And folks can see it on the screen at youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. You can see the awesome graphics that Really Flawed has up there. So youtube.com/Really Flawed or at Really Flawed on Insta, at Really Flawed out on Twitter. She keeps it simple that way, but I know she's going to bring the goods. So why don't we dive right in? Are you ready, Flawed?
I am so ready.
And away we go. Question number one. All right, so you get the week one dub versus the Jets, Jets. All of a sudden it's a shootout. All of a sudden Justin Fields is awesome and Rodgers is throwing 4 touchdowns. So what
Crazy.
impressed you and Steelers fans week one versus those Jets? And is it something you think that can continue?
What impressed us is that we had a quarterback that we're used to yelling at the quarterback. Like we're used to yelling and saying, "Hike the ball! Oh my God, he's wide open! Do the underneath route! It's 3rd and 10! Throw it 10 yards!" Right? Like the basic things. And this game, literally on the first drive against the Jets, we were 3rd and 10, and I know all of us were going, "Okay, here's our first 3 and out of the season." Everybody laugh. It's a joke. This is who we are. And Rodgers threw the ball 10 yards, perfect pass, like smallest of windows, and we all went, "Uh-oh." Like, what is this? And so we were impressed that week one we had an offense. We had a quarterback that knew what he was doing. We had a quarterback that could manage the game. That was very impressive because we just hadn't, let's be honest, we haven't seen it since Ben, consistently. And so it was just a reminder that like Aaron Rodgers might have all of his things, but he knows how to play quarterback. He knows how to do that, if nothing else. He can play quarterback. And so that was very impressive just to see him out there. No preseason, no anything. We didn't know anything. And it was nice to see him out there, like moving the offense down the field, getting first downs. So that was great.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine that was a refreshing change, after the Duck Hodges of the world and things like that. And so, Flawed, with the offense really clicking this last week, and Aaron Rodgers looking like he's in his 40,000-year-old groove because, like, that's how old he is, right? Yeah, 40,000. Yeah, so that part of the ball, a lot of fun.
Yes.
What has you worried after that week one performance that you saw from the Steelers?
If I wasn't a Steelers fan, I would probably say defense, just because our defense didn't look like we're accustomed to it looking. However, I'm actually concerned about our run game, mainly because I don't understand why it wasn't working. Everything you point to, blocking, doing this, doing that, it was like, and we in Steelers world are worried that our offensive line might not be good. We're concerned there. And so then when you go out there and you see our offense is doing great, but then you kind of go back and think about it and you're like, I think we had like 52 yards, 82 yards. We didn't have a lot of rushing yards. Our run game did not look good at all. And let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers cannot sustain a season with no run game. It just can't happen. And so the thing that worries me right now is our run game. What is it going to look like? And is it an offensive line problem or is it a week one problem? I just don't know.
A quick follow-up on that part too is, did you find yourselves in 3rd and longs a lot where Rodgers is bailing out or just being successful on 2nd down, or is it more 1st down throwing? If the run game wasn't there, but you still put up 30 some odd points and 4 touchdowns, obviously other stuff was working. So how did you find that the Steelers mitigated that?
Aaron Rodgers, instead of trying to, get, he used our short passing game to get small yardages for our run game because it just wasn't working. And I mean, we tried everything, whatever, any run formation you can think of, we tried it. It just wasn't working. And so Aaron Rodgers had like some short passes to DK, had like some short, quick passes, and just got them in open space. And so he was like, I know people get triggered when you say game manager. I know Aaron Rodgers is not a game manager, but he did manage that game very well to say, this is not working. So we have to transition. And so we were in a lot of long third downs, but a lot of them we were like in 2nd and 7s. And I was like, how did we get that? And it's because Aaron Rodgers, like he knew it wasn't working and he changed it. Again, we had a quarterback. Just those little bitty things, that you don't think about until you're in a game and you're like, this is terrible. But we're still moving the ball.
Yeah,
moving the ball.
Like a QB, who knew, right? And
who knew you needed one of those?
We're fresh off the Niners game where Purdy, he had a couple of shots downfield, but it was the CMC dink and dunk show that really got us and put them in some better positions, though the Seahawks defense certainly played well enough to win. So hearing that, Aaron Rodgers is gonna game manage that way and just take advantage of some space kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies at him a little bit because we just experienced that with Purdy doing that quite a bit to us on our home turf, man.
Yeah. And you guys are very familiar with DK Metcalf. I think that helped them to find their kind of bond because it's like that's funny. I did not know. I knew it was coming at some point. I did not know it was coming.
No, it's a great transition. Professional.
But the simple things helped get him going. And like, I think in the first draft, and again, DK will never admit he was nervous, but I think he was a little anxious, had a little bit of whatever. First pass to him, super easy. He just drops it. Okay, cool. But then after that, I don't think he dropped a single pass. One of them he hit, touched, and anyways, he ended up catching it. But it was just like utilizing him in those little bitty situations, just moving the chains. Because I think sometimes in football, we forget that moving the chains and getting first downs is actually the goal. Because you can't score a touchdown until you do that. And so that's what we really did was kind of like, methodically move down the field. I just hadn't seen it in probably 7 years, I feel like. And I think that helped them be okay. And then I also think the funny thing that happened I saw is everybody was so worried about DK that Aaron Rodgers is like, I'm not going to throw to that guy. I'm going to these other guys that nobody's caring about, no one is worried about. And that's what he did because, he's Aaron Rodgers. And so that's one thing I think will be interesting to see how the season goes on to see, because he's almost buying DK time for people to see that there's other people so that DK can have his moment. That's what I feel like is happening in my football brain, but we'll see.
Yeah, DK has a tendency to pull a lot of coverage and a lot of attention, and it does help out the rest of the offense. And, maybe that was part of what you talked about earlier in terms of the offense being able to stay on schedule. Right. And with that, we have heard a lot over the years when Aaron has gone from coach to coach, team to team, that, he comes in and he's like, it's going to be my show. It's my offense. This is how we do things. I don't want a bunch of motion. I want this. I want that. I don't want to turn my back to the defense. When you saw the offense function this last Sunday, did it look more like the traditional Arthur Smith style of offense that we've seen the last few years, last year in Pittsburgh, back with the Falcons, or is it more the Aaron Rodgers audible at the line, he's running the show type thing?
I think it's a combination. I did see some changes at the line of scrimmage, which thank you, sweet baby Jesus, because I hadn't seen that in a long time. But I also saw some plays that I felt like Aaron was almost, I don't want to say forcing it, where he was just kind of like, hey, this is the play. We're going to try to make this play work. And so I think it's a little bit of a chess match. I think the one thing I feel like people don't realize is that everything that people said about Aaron Rodgers, people are also saying about Arthur Smith. And so you have two guys that people are really doubting, right? He was the coach of the Falcons, and they were like, he wasn't ready for that job. He wasn't good enough. He's terrible, blah, 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 blah. And so you have two men in a locker room. The world is saying the same thing about both of them. And so for them to coexist, I think is going to be more meaningful. And we all know Aaron Rodgers is arrogant, and I love that arrogantness. And what man doesn't want to prove, hey, all that crap you talked about me, it's not true. I'm going to make this work just because you talk trash. That's kind of what I see happening right now, right? We're in week 1, right? It's a long season. We're in week 1. It's polished. It's pretty. It's all the things, but that's what I'm seeing right now. But there were some things that I was shocked that Arthur Smith even tried or called a certain personnel. And so I was like, okay, like we had some 3 tight end sets. And I was like, okay, So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Well, if Arthur Smith also gets a show on Netflix about disappearing into the forest, we'll know it's all coming full circle. We'll know the Venn is an actual circle for sure. But
I want to see Arthur Smith start to date like starlets, just like Aaron Rodgers.
How do you know he doesn't?
Evolution.
How do you know he doesn't, Adam? How do you know?
That mustache that he sported for a while. That makes it pretty clear to me.
The Arthur stash. All right, let's move on to this one too. So, Flawed, tell us Seahawks fans. Seahawks fans tend to be very rabid, and also, like other NFL fans, tend to live in our little bubble, right? We know our team passionately, deeply, et cetera, et cetera. I'd say a lot of us are really good NFL fans, but give us a nook and a cranny, a type of Steeler that's out there that you're like, you might not know this dude, but you really oughta, and how might he show up on Sunday?
We are a team that you can do everything right and you can win everything and we will still win the game. So you can come out and you can get turnover. You can go up 17-0 and you can do all those things. And then the fourth quarter, you might look at us and be like, how in the world is it 14-17 and they have the ball on the 2? What happened? And so I think as a Steelers fan, we live for the roller coaster. We're so used to it by now. It is what it is at this point. And I think that when people watch us play, they're like, we're dominating this, we're dominating that. I mean, if you go look at those stats for the Jets game, the Jets won on everything. Everything. We didn't win on anything except for turnovers. We got 1 turnover. That's it. They won on every other measurable in football. They won. And I think that's the Steelers for you. Some people call it ugly football. I just call it very effective and efficient.
I don't know how Dubs. Yeah, I don't know how Dubs could ever be ugly, but it sounds like you're invincible. That's fine. But with that said, us as Seahawks fans, we have a long history with a new addition to your roster.
Yeah.
And Jalen Ramsey, and I'm just curious how his fit is with this organization, considering how bombastic he is. And I know Mike Tomlin has a long reputation of being very good at handling big personalities. Honestly, there's guys there that have succeeded there that, just flame out everywhere else.
Absolutely.
And I also think too, Jalen Ramsey, because my sports hate for Jalen Ramsey is high. I can't stand this dude. He drives me crazy. He also drove DK Metcalf crazy for a long time. How does he fit in with all these guys here in Pittsburgh?
Jalen Ramsey is what we would call he's a Steeler. He's annoying. He's aggressive. He talks too much. He's going to annoy you. When you walk out of the stadium, you are going to want to punch him in the face. And then at some point you'll go, gosh, but he's so good at football. That's who he is. And that's pretty much every single person on our roster. Somehow even TJ Watt has become somebody people hate. I don't know how that happened or what he ever did. And so, naturally people just don't like people who play for the Steelers. And I think it's because we have that edge. I always tell people, if we don't win the game, you will know that you played us and you will be beat up and you will be frustrated and you'll be annoyed and you'll say, yeah, we won, but our freaking whatever was injured, or yeah, we won, and that's who we are. And so he fits in that perfectly. I think it gets the Jets perfect example.
That checks out.
Perfect example.
There was, we all got that friend in high school if we played sports that when he's on your team, you're like, oh yeah, that's our dog. That's our guy. And if you play that same type of person, you're like, that's the biggest a-hole in the field. And I want to punch that dude, but damn, do I respect them because they can play. And it's funny you mentioned hey, even if we lose, you're going to know you've played us. Adam, I'm not sure if you were hanging in our Discord today, but in our Discord, we were having that very same discussion because it's a little bit of copium that the Niners, got the win, but now Purdy's injured and he's beyond day to day. Joanne Jennings is day to day, and Kittle's now on the IR. And it's like, all right, we lost 17-13, should have won the game also, and but it felt kind of good to be back. They were like, all right, maybe we could be bullies on our own block again because we kind of lost that. Now you got to win those games, otherwise it doesn't really matter. But I totally understand what you mean, that if you got to come all the way across country and face us, at the very least you're going to leave, black and bruised and really feeling it for the next week. So exactly. I do understand that fully. All right, let's talk about, you mentioned it earlier, but Najee Harris is gone. He was the power back. Now it's Jalen Warren and company. What's What's different? Is it no Najee, no cry like it says on screen there? You mentioned earlier that the running game wasn't working, but is that a Najee thing? Is it now being more zone centric versus just power? What'd you see? I know it's only 1 week, but what'd you see so far?
I don't know what the problem is because nothing was working. It didn't matter. It just didn't matter. And again, I don't know if it was the flow of the game. I don't know if it just was that type of game. I don't know if we didn't practice enough. Like, I don't even know. And you know what? It didn't even look good.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes where you go, like for example, like our defense, like didn't look good at all. Like they didn't look good. They ended up winning this game, but whatever. They didn't look good, but they were there. Our running game didn't even look good. So I don't know if it's the players. I don't know if it's this offensive line. I don't know if it's a play calling. I don't know if we're just not going to be good. I don't know if we're missing Najee. I don't know. Because it was the one thing I walked away from the game and I was like, what was that? I've never seen that.
I guess a quick follow-up for those that didn't watch it as intently as you did is saying, hey, it didn't look good, but was it also, is that mean to me? That means there's just no holes there. Like that wasn't,
no,
it wasn't
I don't
like,
even think.
Yeah,
even the alignment on the play calls, I feel like I don't know what was going on. So if I went back and watched film, which I pride myself on not doing because I want to trust my eye test, I don't want to get film eyes is what I call it. Thinking about the game, there are certain times we would line up and I'm like, okay, this run is going to the right. Looks like it's going to the right. And then we audible, somebody would slide. And then, I'm like, okay, this is going to the left now. But somebody didn't get the message. And so it was like half the team was going this way. And so I'm like, I don't think it's supposed to kind of go like that. And that's what I mean. It was just like, we couldn't quite get it together. I don't know if somebody got the play calls backwards. Like, I don't know. It just wasn't working. And it could, and credit to the Jets, right? Because we don't know. It could, in week 7, I might look back at this game and go, oh, that was a Jets thing. The Jets are just really good at stopping the run. And it wasn't anything we were doing. It was just the Jets. It just didn't quite work. It was like everybody was moving in different directions. One time we tried to pull the guard and I was like, did the guard know he was supposed to pull? It was just.
So disjointed
yeah,
is what it sounds like.
Maybe
just week 1. Right. They barely practice now. And again, Rodgers doesn't get under center. So, it could just be week 1 blues and the NFL will extend to 18 games pretty soon and probably take the preseason down to 2 games.
And Adam, what can go wrong?
Exactly. What can go right? So Adam, we got 2 more questions for Flawed. Why don't you take the next one, bud?
Yeah, you betcha. So, maybe it was just defenses are generally a little bit ahead of offenses in early in the season, or at least that's the old adage. Plus, I do think the Jets are good up front. So you saw a physical team with the Jets. You're going to see a physical team with the Seattle Seahawks this next week. And that's something that really showed up on tape against the 49ers, not just with, having some guys come out injured for the Niners after that, but pads were clicking and it was a tough physical game. What are the Steelers? What does it look like? What do the Steelers need to do? The Steelers win this game if, fill in the blank.
I think it's going to be if we can have your offense look like it looked last week. Because I feel like last week, because yes, I cheat and watch the team's games and of the teams I'm going to play, absolutely. And I felt like watching you all's offense was kind of like watching the Steelers offense last year. And I feel like it's just not quite connecting with what needs to happen yet. And I think there 2 turnovers. For me, the offense just didn't look together. And I don't think a team coming in playing the Steelers with that defense can have an offense that isn't on par. And so I would say if the Steelers win this game, it's going to be because Seattle Seahawks still are trying to figure out what they're trying to do on offense.
Yeah, it's a valid point because we were sitting in the stands and it felt like we wanted to be a certain type of way between the hiring, between how we drafted, between the coach speak. And then we did not act the way we talked that we were going to be under Clint Kubiak and having a full back and get under center. And we had very little play action. I think it was actually one play action pass that went for 20 something yards to JSN. And then, why ever do that again? Because it only works so good. So we're a little confused as well, walking out of that first week. And we're just sitting there going like, some of it looked pretty good. And a lot of it looked just not quite there yet. And just decisions seem weird. So we'll be looking at that too.
Yeah.
My problem, Adam, is that the Steelers tend to have a history, especially when we go to Heinz Field, of taking teams out of their element. So it's like, even if you have an intention to do something, they're pretty darn good at getting you off your schema. So any thoughts on that, Adam, before we wrap with Flawed?
Yeah, we've seen that a lot over the years. Every time that we visit Pittsburgh, and even at the height of some of the Seahawks' more successful years in the early 2010s and all of that, I think that one of the things I really enjoy about the direction of the Seahawks offense is that it's simplistic in terms of like, hey, we're running the ball. It's a non-negotiable. This is happening. And that's something that can translate in travel to just about anywhere, even against tough teams, if you come in and you've got that mentality straight out the gate. So it'll be interesting to see that. So, Clinton, I know we've got one last one here for Flawed, and I like this question better.
Yeah, we like this. We like to give a couple layups and then hit them with that hard ball. Hit them with the fastball, right? Throw the fastball, as Macdonald would say. So Flawed, got to answer it. So it's time to you got to get down. The Seahawks win this game if ... What do you think?
The Steelers can't stop the run.
Okay.
Because
Agreed.
I think then Darnold won't have to throw. And I think I'm not trying to be rude, but I think right now, I think that's a good thing for now because he can ease his way in. He doesn't have to be Superman. He doesn't have to go win the game. He can just do what he needs to do, and he can just hand that ball off. And let me tell you, what quarterback doesn't want to just hand the ball off and just say, go do the thing? And so I think if the Steelers cannot stop the run, I think it's going to be a problem also because it's going to take the crowd out of the game because nobody wants to sit through a game where your defense is getting ran over. And I think it's demoralizing when you can't stop the run. Nobody wants to see that. So I think that's the key to the game is going to be the Seahawks' ability to run the football and the Steelers' ability to stop them from running the football.
I think you're right there. That's exactly what I would think to be the key of the game because I think this is going to be a defensive schlobberknocker. Like I don't care that
about the Jets and
I get that. I get that, but I just can't believe that the Steelers are going to give up, 27 plus points 2 weeks in a row. That doesn't seem to track for me. And then after seeing exactly how difficult the Seahawks made it on the 49ers offense in the game last week, and knowing that they're coming on here with Coach Mike in his second year and what his history looked like with the Ravens and having his group together for the second year, I really do think that at the end of the year, we're going to be looking at these two defenses and talking about both of them in a top 5 type of way.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have one question for you guys.
Let's
How
go.
is Murphy? How is my guy Murphy?
Oh,
how is he doing?
So all right, again, Texas.
This is right in Clinton. Yeah, this is
Texas
Clinton's
lady
wheelhouse.
here.
Yeah.
Texas. So we're recording this on Tuesday night. In about an hour and a half from now, going live with our tape review show for 3 In, 3 Out. And the folks that have watched that by then will know I'm highlighting Murphy, man. So, and the reason being
That's my guy.
Yeah, the reason being is like he's like, okay, he had a pretty good year one. He took on a lot of double teams, played a ton of nose tackle. Can they move him over a 3 technique? By the way, Adam, he played a lot of nose tackle again, by the way. And
yeah, I know.
He was still so Flawed week 1, year 2, he played really, really well.
Yeah.
He's super disruptive again. Maybe not the flashy stats because he has never been a sack guy. However, there's just plays on tape that jump out where he's taking on 2 dudes, just shredding them and getting TFLs or things right around the line, or freeing up the linebacker so Ernest Jones has a clean gap. And so I think he's playing above where most Seahawks fans would kind of chart him right now. And that's also okay because he's a year and a game into his pro career. So happy that you asked that because we're going to highlight him in a bit.
And so you guys know, that is Murphy. He's a grinder and he usually gets better. And he loves football. So
there we go.
I'm excited to see him and Alfred Collins, like how they are in the NFL, because to us, him, Sweat, and Collins were like our everything. They were our core for us being back. Yep. So they get it. And so I'm just interested to see like how they develop in the league. Anyways, it's not about that. Thank you for giving me that.
Love the extra there. And for the folks that will be watching 3 In, 3 Out, there's also a play featuring Alfred Collins, but he ends up on his ass. So stay tuned for that too, because that's one of the nicer pancakes that'll be featured.
Awesome.
but he's a big boy, and you mentioned Devondre Sweat, who was just a beast in the middle there too. So folks, she is Really Flawed. YouTube.com/Really Flawed. Make sure you follow her. She is a Steelers fan. She covers the entire NFL and she covers college football like no other out there. She's an awesome collaborator. She does an amazing job, not just of having a good time with it, but reaching out to other folks across the NFL verse and across the collegiate sphere and bringing in some really cool creators to collaborate and do interviews with. So if you like all that stuff, if you want to know what's happening for the 2026 draft and get ahead of that, check out her channel.
And I respond to every single comment. So if you have something to say, you will get a response from me. So good, bad, or indifferent. And I like when people disagree with me. Like, I'm one of those people that if somebody states something that I think is a really good point, I'm like, I like that. I know a lot of people don't do that. So I like engagement. And so if you have thoughts or something, or if you just are like, this lady's crazy, say that. I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
There we go. You could call her out if she's crazy or not, but we know she does a great job. Flawed, we're going to say goodbye for now. We're going to wrap, but thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
And I'm sure I'll be hitting you up on Twitter as this Sunday rolls around too.
Yeah, you let me know.
I will. Thank you. What'd you think of her perspective and kind of succinctness about what may drive this game?
Yeah, a lot of the things that she talked about there were things that were kind of on the forefront of my mind in terms of facing the Steeler team. And the one thing that I really wonder about, I wish that we were facing this team in like week 11. Because I just am not a believer that Aaron Rodgers is going to be this sort of Aaron Rodgers by the time we get to like week 11. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I'm a little bit worried about the DK Metcalf revenge game. Like that scares me a tiny bit, but still rooting for him and, love that dude. And this is going to be a fun slobber knocker, man. And I can't wait for it. This is going to be what football was meant to be, physical bruising, just get after it type stuff. And I'm fired up for this, man, because we can't go 0-2, buddy. I mean, we can, but we're not going to. Let's not.
Well, since you said slobber knocker twice, so that makes it 3 times, I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.